Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr. This is the On the Stacks podcast.
Oh yeah, whoa, look, they can never keep me down, I'm going, and if I ever fail, just know I'll go again. I never quit, cause I know that every loss may lead to another win. I'm going up.
Today I'm joined by Savina Ortiz, mother, therapist, and mental health advocate. Savina believes that perfect balance in life does not exist, and instead promotes the idea of harmony, where different aspects of life coexist harmoniously rather than in perfect balance. In this episode, Savina talks about her Greek cultural heritage, which intertwines with her upbringing within a family that's deeply rooted in the food industry. We also explore the challenges of navigating stillness after we achieve the goals we set and the pressure of having to do something next. Savina also shares her personal experience of navigating motherhood, family business, and the importance of finding the right therapist. This episode would not be possible without the support of our sponsors, so please check them out in the show notes. I'm your host, Bill Corcoran Jr., and this is Savina Ortiz on the Stacks.
You know, being the oldest of 4 kids, immigrant parents, the pressure to do high school. You finish high school, you're automatically going to college. You go to college, well, get another degree. You get another degree, well, the real world's hitting you. Get a job. You get a job, what's next? Further your relationship. You get married, what do you do after you get married? You have kids. You have kids, you have a family, now you need to get a house and start building. So like there's this whole thing of like always going, doing.
This episode is brought to you by Sweat Tent, the pioneers of the portable wood-burning sauna. Did you know that using the sauna 3 to 4 times per week could reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease by up to 50% and make you 60% less likely to experience Alzheimer's disease? That's why I've been a big fan of the sauna for years. But having to go to a crowded gym to do it isn't ideal. And all the at-home options are bulky and expensive. That's why I only use the Sweat Tent for my sauna needs. It's the most storable and affordable wood-burning sauna on the market. It not only takes minutes to set up, but it can reach 200 degrees Fahrenheit in 30 minutes or less. So whether you're enjoying it yourself in your backyard, with friends, or in need of a reliable sauna on the go, Sweat Tent is your best choice for the most portable, storable, and enjoyable outdoor sauna experience. All On The Stacks listeners will receive $100 off when you use code OTS. Visit sweattent.com today to get $100 off your purchase with code OTS at checkout. Again, that's sweattent.com to get $100 off with code OTS. Sweat Tent, helping you fire up your home wellness routine. This episode is brought to you by Burn, the fitness company behind the Today Show approved Burn board. If I'm being honest, working out can be a real chore, especially as a new dad in desperate need of sleep and cardio. Burn is founded by NEPA native Jimmy T. Martin, and his Burn board offers a low-impact core and cardio experience unlike anything I've done before. They have hundreds of on-demand workouts that are great for beginners, seasoned athletes, and out-of-shape podcast hosts who love supporting small businesses. My wife and I use it pretty frequently throughout the week, and it's honestly a great way to burn a ton of calories without burning a ton of cash. Not to mention, it's a great tool for skiers, runners, wrestlers, and hockey players. Jimmy is offering all On The Stacks listeners 15% off when they use the code STACKS15. Visit theburn.com today to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15 at checkout. Again, that's theburn, THEBRRN.com to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15. It's time to get on board today with Burn. This episode is brought to you by Kavanaugh's Grill, one of my favorite places to eat and drink in NEPA. They've got one of the best outdoor patios with 13 TVs and over 20 beers on tap. You can also dine inside at this cozy Irish-style pub where your beer never goes empty. Did I mention how delicious their food is? Their in-house smoked brisket, barbecue ribs, and wings are to die for. So grab your friends and have a drink on me at Kavanaugh's. Mention code STACKS for 1 free draft beer with purchase of any entree when you dine in. Located at 163 North Main Street in Mountain Top, Kavanaugh's is open at 4 p.m. during the week and 12 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday during football season. Dine in today at Mountain Top's only Irish-style pub. What's up, podcast? It's your host, Bill Corcoran Jr. here in the Blue Door Studio, protected by our friends at Ritchie Security Solutions. Savina Ortiz, welcome to the On the Stacks podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. And by the way, one thing you didn't tell me before you came in was that you got married at the top of the Empire State Building.
I did. Funny story. My husband and I, well, my boyfriend at the time, we wrote into this contest that...
Yeah, I got to hear about this contest.
The Empire State Building apparently did it like every single year, where couples from literally anywhere can write in and tell their love story and either get remarried and like renew their vows, or get married for the first time on top of the Empire State Building. And at the time, we were not engaged. We're not planning on being engaged. So we literally just decided like, hey, let's write in, see what happens. If we end up winning, then I guess
we're getting married.
Now we have to get married. So we actually ended up writing, and then found out we ended up getting engaged during the Christmas holiday, found out right after New Year's that we had won the contest. So we basically had like a 1.5 month long engagement before we got married.
That was quick.
Yeah, super quick.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because the contest basically took care of everything. We didn't have to think about anything. But out of all the contestants that won, we kind of made it like our own, like, I don't want to say real wedding, but like we had people like stand with us for like bridesmaids and groomsmen, and we invited like just a couple like close family members who got to come on top of the Empire State Building with us. So that was like pretty cool. But yeah, it's like a once in a lifetime experience. And I think they only did the contest like 1 year more after we got married, and they haven't done it since. So we are like super lucky and unique in that way, I guess.
It's been going on for a while.
I think so. I mean, I didn't really research too much about it before we did it. I don't even remember how I found out about the contest, but like that's one of those things that's like literally 1 in a million. You never think that it would actually happen to you. So
yeah, I also didn't even know that such a thing existed until right before we came on. I was telling you that I Googled you, and you got really nervous. You got really nervous. You're like, what else did you find? But that was one of them. That was one of the things that I found. Was that. But I didn't even know that existed. Like I didn't even know that was a thing, and it was like a contest, and that like. I forget the one sponsor, but it was like a wedding gown place in Manhattan, like
Kleinfeld's.
Yeah,
ladies definitely know about Kleinfeld's. It's like a thing.
I know I've heard of the name. I was like blanking on the name here, and I was hoping you'd say it for me. So like, did you like get a gown too from there? Like, so was that part of the thing?
Yeah. So they gave me like my wedding gown. I got to go to Kleinfeld's, which again, like ladies, that's like the big place. You ever see the what's the show on TLC? Say Yes to the Dress.
Yeah,
that's like the place,
okay,
like where people go for their wedding gowns. And so I got to go and pick out my gown, and they gave me like my bouquet of flowers and all my jewelry and stuff like that. We didn't really have to pay for anything. They gave us like an overnight in the Grand Hyatt in NYC. So it was a pretty cool experience.
What year was this?
2018. 2018.
Your husband's listening.
I know. I was just going to say, I hope he doesn't recognize I stumbled a bit there. But yeah, no, 2018.
Nice. So at that time, you were still living in New York, right?
We were still living in New York. We were home just for like the holiday break. But pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah. So, okay. So, but since then you had moved back. You had moved back home, right? Back to the NEPA.
In 2019, right before we had our daughter. So yeah, we still had the newlywed phase out in New York, and we moved back to Pennsylvania shortly after the summer of 2019. And everything after that, I can guarantee you I'm going to mess up the years and the timeline.
It's been a blur.
COVID just like robbed us of those couple years that everything is just meshing together.
Been a total blur. But before we get into, you coming back home and what you're doing now and all that stuff. So, what was your experience like in New York City, and why did you go to New York?
So I did my undergrad in New Jersey, West Long Branch, Monmouth University. And I always had a love for the city. My parents, when they first came here, they lived in New York City. And so growing up, it was a big part of my childhood. Even though we lived in Pennsylvania, they would take me to the city like once a month. And then, as my siblings came along, we used to go as a family on Sundays and just spend the day. And so as a little girl, I just had this love for the city like nothing else. When I was in high school, I used to just get on a Marts bus at like the age of like 15 and 16 and just wander New York City and explore for myself. And so I knew that that was always going to be my end goal, was living in the city, regardless of where I went to school, what I was going to do. I didn't know anything else besides I'm going to New York. And so after I finished up undergrad, I applied to grad school at NYU, and it was a fast track program. So I got my master's in a year, and I decided like I'm staying. I actually finished up my internship early. I got a job before I even graduated. And so it allowed me to kind of stay there, which I was really, really lucky, because without a job in New York City, you know, you don't really know what your chances are going to be like.
You don't make it long.
In making it. So I ended up getting hired, and lucky enough for my husband and myself, we ended up being able to have a couple years out there before starting our family.
Very cool. So it's always been your dream to be in Manhattan. Yeah. As a kid.
I mean, I never got to live in Manhattan. I lived in Queens. But even so, just being out in New York, it's to me, it can't get better than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and your parents immigrated?
Yes.
From Greece?
Yes.
Yeah. What year did they come here?
Well, my dad...
Or how old were they, at least?
Early 20s. My dad has been here for, gosh, I'm almost 30, so a little bit over 30 years. He's actually coming up. This month was his 30th anniversary in his business. So... yeah, and everybody knows who your dad is. And for those that don't recognize you, give your dad a shout out and who he is. So my dad is Notice the Gyro King. A lot of people kind of recognize him as that in the area. He's been to probably every and any festival or well-known event that any PA goers go to, from the Cherry Blossom Festival to the Fine Arts Fiesta to 4th of July in Kirby Park and up in Scranton. Fun fact, all my siblings and myself have all been birthed during one of his major festivals. So my birthday happened to land on the Fine Arts Fiesta of 1994. And so my youngest sister, she was the Italian festival. So it's pretty cool that all of us kind of have like a little highlight of my dad's career.
Oh my God. So what did he do? Like close up the cart and go to the hospital?
Yeah, pretty much. It's actually like some of my mom's favorite stories. Like literally Fine Arts Fiesta. I think it was my birth. My dad ended up getting a ticket. He literally probably, I think he said through his driver's license and everything, and said, you can either take me to the hospital or I'm leaving all this stuff with you and I'm going anyways, but I need to go. And God. Yeah, a fun little fact. We all have our own festival that we get to celebrate at every single year.
Yeah, so. Literally born right into this thing.
Yes.
Like
quite literally.
Yeah. Each one of you.
Yep.
Wow. So what was that like growing up with all your siblings?
It was really, really special. And actually, now that my husband and I are in the family business, it's kind of a weird like Twilight Zone moment, because growing up, you know, my dad worked very, very hard. And so it was really cool having all these memories a part of his career. So whether it was his little hot dog cart, or whether it was the stand in the Wyoming Valley Mall, or whether it was the restaurant that he used to own, like having all these core memories. Now with my husband and I being in this business, the things that I can remember doing, like my dad stepping away from the festival when there was no line and like walking us around, or going to see all of our like food vendor aunts and uncles at their stands and like loading up on their goodies that they were offering. My husband now, I get to visit him when he's doing these festivals and traveling, and he steps out of the stand and walks around with like our daughter and our son. And so it's a really cool kind of side-by-side Twilight Zone moment where like I have these flashbacks of me doing it with my dad and now seeing my husband do it with our kids. It's like,
it's nostalgic.
Yeah, it's so surreal.
Wow. Yeah, that is. So okay, so your parents were very young, in their early 20s. When they came, they landed in New York, right? What was their goal or plan? Like what have they told you, like from their experience, you know, as immigrants coming into New York? Like what were they going to do?
So my dad is from a very, very small island in Greece. When people talk about Greece, they obviously know like the white houses and the blue rooftops, right? Mykonos, Santorini, all these big grand islands. Our island is very, 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 very small. It's part of the 12 Vilvikanis Islands in Greece. And so I guess living on such a small island, everything here is so grand, right? And like the American dream. And so when it came time to start a family and settle down, as much as my mom loves Greece and loves the motherland, she knew that it wasn't really a place to like start and raise a family. And so she knew that coming here, there would be more opportunities and just the things that we value here in America a little bit differently than they do overseas. And not even just Greece, but I mean, I guess you can say Europe or just other countries. Like my mom always instilled in us like the importance of education and career and professionalism and those kind of things where even the jobs, like the top tier jobs in other countries, they're not the same things as they are here. And so the goal was really to, like a lot of immigrant parents, you know, provide the best life possible.
So for you, like growing up, like, you know, being that you're, like you said, like your parents valued education so much, which I think is very important, you know, for anybody. And I remember, I think you told me before you started that neither of your parents graduated from high school.
Nope.
Right?
Nope. And I am the oldest of 4 children. The first grandchild on my mom's side of the family. And I was the first to even do that. So a lot of the stuff that I have lived through or, you know, my achievements and stuff, it's not only a milestone for me, but it's a milestone for really both sides of my family. My dad's entire side of the family is still overseas. And so again,
they're there right now.
Yeah.
Like literally at the time this recording, by the time this comes out, they'll probably be back here in the States. But right now they're home.
Quite literally everybody from my parents to my siblings to my aunt to my cousin.
They left you home.
They did.
You're like the kid from Home Alone.
Yes, that's
Kevin.
kind of what it feels like. And being in the family business together, my life and my husband's life and our immediate family unit is so intermeshed with like my parents and well, therefore like my siblings or my youngest sister who's still at home. My other 2 siblings are out of college now, but it's weird not having that dynamic right now in the interim while they're gone.
Yeah, you're like you're Kevin from Home Alone.
I don't know what to do.
Jeez, no bad guys like breaking, but if they do, you're good. You're good, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, all right. So, your parents moved to New York, and then what point did they come to Northeastern Pennsylvania?
Well, my mom was in Pennsylvania before the 2 of them decided to go to New York. So my mom was in Pennsylvania. She did, you know, her schooling and stuff here, but she would spend her summers in Greece, and that's where the 2 of them had met. But when it came time to like coming back here, they decided that they wanted to, you know, go to New York. There was a little bit of a bigger Greek culture there and community than we have even kind of now in the Valley. But that's where they first went and they started Astoria, Queens, which is like the little Greece of New York. Still one of my favorite places in New York.
Do you still visit there a lot?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
I when we lived in Queens, my husband and I would venture into Astoria like all the time just to eat or like get our favorite desserts, go to the Greek grocery stores. It was nice to have a little bit of home away from home.
So, you know, being that your family's like in the food business, like what are your like favorite places to eat, either locally or in Queens or anywhere else? Like where do you eat besides with like when your family cooks?
Here, I can't say that I can honestly say I don't have a favorite Greek restaurant aside from our own stuff.
Yeah,
but
of course.
If anybody is ever looking for some really authentic Greek food and is visiting the city, Telis Taverna has been my spot since literally I was probably like 10 years old.
Where's that at?
In Astoria, Queens. I want to say like Ditmars and 32nd. Don't quote me on that, but
They can just look it up.
yeah, there you go. Definitely some of the best Greek food you will ever find.
Nice. So tell me about this Greek food. I need to learn more about this. Oh, but actually, before you do, I was telling you before. I mean, I know how to pronounce it, and I know you already know what's coming. And you said gyro, so I'm saying gyro, but gyro isn't technically the right pronunciation, correct?
That is correct. So the correct pronunciation is gyro, and that is because in Greek, the word gyro means around. And for anybody who's ever visited the trailer or seen us at an event or eaten anywhere with the gyro meat, you'll see that it actually turns round and round on a spit, like a rotisserie kind of thing. And so that is how it has its name.
Gyro.
There you go.
How did I do?
Pretty good.
I told you I wasn't going to try that.
You know what? It came out better this time than when you tried it before. So there you go.
Yeah, I've been practicing. I was practicing when I went to the restroom. I was practicing in the mirror, and I was practicing, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna say it right, so I'm not embarrassed and look silly."
No, you did great.
Yeah. So yeah, how many times do people ask you about the pronunciation of that?
I'm sure like once a day my husband gets that question.
How many times a day is really the real question?
Literally probably once a day my husband gets that question.
Yeah. So growing up as a kid, did you ever anticipate or think that you would ever get into the family business?
If I'm being honest with you, yeah. I knew that regardless of what I wanted to do with my professional self and before figuring out like my own goals and things like that, like I always just took so much pride in my dad and, you know, what he was doing and building a name and a business for himself from the ground up. And it was cool to see again, like his story coming here. He came without his family. His family's always remained overseas. So coming here was just my mom and, you know, just the two of them kind of working the American dream and starting from the ground up. Like, it's been incredible to see that now, like, you know, even if I go to a fair, people know I'm Nodi's daughter, or to, you know, take on the family business for the next generation is like pretty awesome. And, you know, I went to Wyoming Seminary, which is a very, it's a private school. So a lot of people who do get to attend are fortunate in that way. And so my dad didn't typically fall into the category of a doctor, a lawyer, a lot of the professionals that professional occupations that the parents of that community typically have. And so it was amazing just to see like he started with so little and was able to still do so much, which is pretty awesome. And so, you know, I remember even like my college essays and applications or like any kind of assignment that I could get in school relating back to like family or mentors or idols. Who are you proud of? Role models, things like that. It always comes back to my dad. So
like growing up as a kid, like what were maybe some things that like you just observed like your dad and your mom doing as like, you know, the parents, you have a few siblings and they have the family business and they're working really hard. They're trying to, you know, do what's best for all you kids. And I'm sure it wasn't easy, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, I can't imagine. I have one son right now. I know you have two kids. Like I'm, you know, growing up, I'm sure things probably weren't easy. Like, you know, did you witness and see your parents like at some points like just struggle with, you know, paying the bills or whatever it is, like as a kid growing up, like, you know, because they afforded you, you know, some great things in life, which is amazing.
Of course. Yeah, there were definitely a lot of moments, but I think the thing that really stands out for me and is even something that now, you know, plays a major role in my mothering and my family unit and what I try to instill is honestly the relationships that we have with one another, from, you know, the relationship between my parents, the relationships that they have with each of us as the kids individually, the relationships we have with each other. It really perseveres like through everything. And so at the end of the day, like, we might not have always been the richest, you know, monetarily or had the biggest house, especially considering the communities that we grew up in, you know, education wise. We had each other, and a lot of the times that was richer than anything that we could have seen otherwise.
Yeah, you know, I find that so interesting because, you know, you kind of touched on it a little bit there, but, you know, you and your family, you guys placed different values on different things, whereas like you said, I'll say like the typical, I'll say maybe family, you know, I don't want to categorize everybody so I don't get canceled here, you know, but like I get it, you know, I didn't go to Wyoming Seminary, but I understand like the typical, you know, or quote unquote, the typical, you know, student child who, you know, maybe have say somewhat of a wealthy family, right?
Sure.
Because it's a private school and I know it's not cheap. But like, you know, you touched on it a little bit, like, and for you and for your family, like, it seems like they, you know, really just placed the value on each other and the education as opposed to, you know, maybe having the biggest, nicest house or the best, newest car or whatever it was. And, you know, growing up, I'm sure that's had like such a big impact on you and your siblings.
For sure. And, you know, growing up, I went to school with a lot of well-known families in the area with a lot of big major, you know, businesses and names. And so a lot of the times, you know, as a kid, you can fall into that like comparison trap, right? Like, oh, everybody's getting a car for their 16th birthday, but I'm working the gyro stand and I'm saving my money to eventually get to that place. Or, you know, everything has a purpose, and I'm so happy that it happened the way that it did. I got a lot out of it, but always being able to see that, you know, regardless of the little food truck or the one person who was providing for this larger family, we're a family of 6, you know what I mean? Being able to go to private school and all the things that come with that, like, that's pretty incredible when it doesn't come as easy as it did for a lot of the other kids that I was around.
Yeah. So growing up, so you touched on a little bit, you worked the stand as a kid, right? You got experience doing that, making money, so save for your own money, spending money, whatever it was. Right. But, you know, and earlier you said like you had always envisioned yourself getting into the family business, but you didn't get into it until recently. Right. So like, what was your career path? We'll say like before, you know, I know you're still doing something else as well, but like when you went to college, what were you going to do?
So I knew that I wanted to be a therapist in some kind of capacity. Like what licensing and degrees, I didn't know. But I went to school for social work, and I got my master's, I said this earlier, but in a year after I graduated undergrad. And so right after school, I worked in the New York City public schools with high school students, running my own like kind of counseling program for them, after school programs too, which was really awesome. And then, I mean, that was kind of a little bit short-lived before coming back and starting our family and whatnot. And then honestly, as I started motherhood, and we were in the midst of COVID, I realized that was a huge part of my identity that I missed, because above everything else, like in terms of my identity, I knew that my professional self was so solid. Like that was one thing that I knew I was good at. Like nobody could take that away from me. I always felt exceptional and like on top of the world when I was in the counseling realm and working with these kids. And I was like, you know, I went through my own postpartum experiences. And so the first thing that I thought about was I miss that part of myself, like that part of my identity, like, but it's COVID. So how can I get that back? How do you balance it? And so I ended up honestly just reaching out to some counseling places in the area. And I was like, listen, like, I don't even want to work. Like, take me as an intern. I don't need to get paid. I just want the experience. Like, I just want to start doing what I was good at again. And so I was really, really fortunate enough that somebody was like, you seem like a really great fit for our office and our practice. Like, let's go, let's do this. And so I've been working in private practice since 2020, which is really awesome. Yeah.
So, okay. So, but when you were in New York, you said you were working with youth, right? Like what age range?
High school. So freshmen to seniors.
So what was that experience like? I mean, I'm sure you probably, you know, I know with HIPAA laws, you can't really say, you know, a lot, but like, what was that experience like for you? Like that was like your first real job, right? First real job. Like what was that like?
It was so awesome. And it was something that I felt I was good at, which is crazy because like now in private practice, like I don't even want to go near like near kids, teens, anything like that. But it was really, really cool because New York is extremely diverse, and Queens especially is like the most diverse borough. And so for me, it was just awesome being able to work with families of different backgrounds, students of different backgrounds, people who can teach me stuff, people who I saw a lot of myself in, which was really cool. And I think that really showed in a lot of the counseling work that I did with them, and a reason why maybe I felt I was so good at what I was doing, because I got that kind of positive reinforcement or feedback back, right? Like where the kids would like at lunchtime choose to sit at Ms. V's desk, or, you know, they have a question, or, you know, they have a hot table topic. And, you know, during our lunch hours, I used to run a group called #RealTalk. And so everybody knew when there was like a atypical conversation or a taboo conversation, the first place that they were bringing it to was Miss V during lunch. And so like everybody during that lunch period would kind of gear in, and we'd have these kind of little conversations like we're having here during this podcast, which is really cool.
That is very cool. And I don't know if you know, but I have a new tagline for my show. Wait to hear this. I've only been using it for since I think the beginning of this year, and it's real talk on purpose. But it's got a dual meaning. So it's very similar to what you said. We're having real conversation. Real talk is, real talk. So we're talking about purpose, your purpose in life, right? So, but it's also about finding purpose. It's real talk, and we're doing it on purpose.
I love
we're
that.
we're having a real conversation about purpose, but it's also we're having a real conversation on purpose. So it's
wow, I wish I thought about that first.
Yeah.
You beat me to it.
Yeah, I know. But you were doing it before me, but just not publishing it, right?
I guess in a little bit. So.
Yeah. No, but it's just kind of cool. As soon as you said that, I'm like, oh my God, it's crazy to think about that, because and you said, this is what we're doing.
Right.
And I think a lot of this is missing in society, and we were talking before we came on, I love technology, and it's obviously a blessing and a curse. I'm more on it's a blessing than a curse, and I think it's kind of up to you as a parent to be able to teach your kids how to use it, and there's good and bad, whatever, but I think with a lot of technology, it's hindered a lot of socialization, education, and now enter 2020 pandemic, and obviously that probably had another crippling effect probably on society, and enter now mental health crisis that I feel like this country has been in probably even long before that, but it just wasn't really talked about as much until the pandemic. So it's whoa, we just went down a rabbit. I just rambled and went down a big rabbit hole there. But yeah, I just think it's all so important, because it's and your tagline is not your average millennial therapist.
Yeah. It's basically
On the Stacks will be back in a flash after a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Elevation Wellness, NEPA's premier wellness center located on Mundy Street in Wilkes-Barre. From pro athletes to busy parents, Elevation Wellness is leading the conversation when it comes to bettering your health through integrative medicine. Founded by NEPA native Louis Helmecke, Elevation Wellness offers physician-formulated and guided treatments that are administered by registered nurses. To learn more about how you can experience the benefits of IV vitamin therapy, multivitamin booster shots, non-invasive aesthetics, or peptide, NAD, red light, and compression therapy, visit elevation-wellness.com or follow them on Instagram at Elevation Wellness NEPA. All On the Stacks listeners will receive 10% off their first purchase with code STACKS at checkout. Call 570-762-9400 or visit elevation-wellness.com to book your appointment today. Elevation Wellness, taking your health to new heights. Welcome to the future. While you're hearing this ad in the present, the Center for Technology Innovation at Lackawanna College is preparing students for the jobs of tomorrow in the world of advanced technology. The Center for Technology Innovation will offer undergraduate degree programs, corporate training, as well as short-term stackable certificates in areas such as robotics, cybersecurity, electric vehicles, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence. Based at a 90,000 square foot facility in downtown Scranton, Pennsylvania, the Center for Technology Innovation is located 2 hours from the major cities of New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia, and is just 15 minutes from a commercial airport in a region thriving with tourist attractions and a vibrant restaurant, educational, and cultural scene. Lackawanna College is a proven industry-leading innovator. But don't just take my word for it. Fast Company even recognized Lackawanna College's reputation for innovation by naming them to their top 10 list as one of the world's most innovative companies. For more information or to enroll, call 877-346-3552 or visit lackawanna.edu.
I have the privilege of representing people who have been injured through no fault of their own, and they come to us and they place a lot of trust in us, and we represent them against corporations and insurance companies, and we make those companies know that our clients have a story, that they deserve compensation, and I'm proud to be able to do that for our clients at Anzalone Law.
To learn more, visit Anzalone Law offices online at anzalonelaw.com. And now we're back on the Stacks.
It's basically how I market myself, you know, in my professional world. I think people have this idea of what therapy is, where you come and you sit on a couch and you talk to somebody and they ask you, how do you feel about that? And they're jotting
weird
their
and
little
awkward. Yeah.
they're
right?
jotting their little notes down and they're like, okay, come back next week. And it's not like that. Like the same way this is like super conversational, I try to be as natural and in my element as possible with my clients. And, you know, you can curse, you can say anything unfiltered. And sometimes I say, hey, I'm about to say something that's going to like hit you hard, but like, let's talk about how it affects you after I say it. Right. And so like having those real and relatable kind of conversations and moments, like, we're human too. Like we don't have the answers. We don't have the magic wands. We can't fix it and make it better. But like, I'm also the therapist that's going to call you out on that stuff. And not everybody's ready for that. So like in my first session with clients, you know, I have this, you know, informed consent that I have to tell them, you know, the things that we're going to get into and stuff like that. And you know, a couple times people ask me, you know, like, what do we expect from therapy and all this stuff? Or how do you do good therapy? How do you get fixed? How does it all work out in the end? I was like, listen, if you really want to do good therapy, then you got to be honest. You got to be open. You got to say when shit hurts. You got to say when it makes you mad. When I make you mad, you got to tell me what you need. I have expectations of you. You probably have expectations of me. But like, this is the place where we put it all out there.
Yeah.
And sort through it.
Yeah, I think that's so important because you know, I think a lot of people just keep too much bottled up.
For sure.
You know, and it's, you know, it's obviously not good. And you know, then there's the whole discussion, like especially with men, right? It's like, you know, oh, you know, it maybe doesn't look as masculine. You know, if somebody, a male, for example, like goes to therapy, like they might look at it like, oh, if a female goes, like it's okay, you know. But whereas on maybe for a male, it's like, oh, he's a, you know, growing up, it's always like, oh, you know, sissy, you get made fun of.
Sure.
You know, and I think helping to like destigmatize that, I think is really important.
Well, I think the therapy world is also not set up kind of in a way that is helpful for men. Like, I don't think we have enough males in the field. We don't have a lot of diversity in the field. And I just know that firsthand experience. You know, I have friends who reach out and they're like, hey, can you help me find somebody? Do you know somebody? And one of the biggest things is like relatability, right? And like when you're shopping around for quote unquote therapists, and this is again like one of my own processes or how I talk to clients about it, like for me personally, on a professional end and a personal end, the relationship that you have with your therapist is more important to me, again, than, you know, their modalities or the degrees on their wall. Like, you have to feel comfortable and like that person is your fit and your vibe. For a lot of like women, I say, or, you know, the teenagers at the time, I relate it to like finding your wedding dress. Like, you just know that it's a fit. Like for guys, I don't know what the equivalent is. Like, what's the equivalent to finding your wedding dress? Is it the right pair of shoes, or
maybe I'm
like
I'm
sneakers,
yeah,
like a sneaker guy, right?
Yep, yeah.
So like
you just know, like you see it and you're like, I gotta buy them.
Exactly. And so like, it's okay to shop around. Just because you find somebody, like, doesn't mean you have to stick with them through the process. I have clients, and I say this again, like in my first session, like we could be together for a year. We could be together for 2 years. We could be together for 3 weeks. Like, if at any point you feel like this isn't a vibe anymore, or you feel like maybe we've like therapeutically plateaued, or you want to try something new, like have that conversation with me. If I can't do that for you, let me help you find somebody who can. Like, my whole purpose like is to help support and serve you. So even if I'm not it, like, let's figure it out together.
Yeah. I love that you have that perspective. Not that I don't think other therapists do, but like, you know, some people may take it personally. Like, you know, you could be like, oh, like you might just like, oh, well, that they don't like me. And it's like, well, it's not that they don't like you. It's just not a fit. Mm-hmm. I think there's a big difference.
For sure.
So, but for you getting into, you know, being a therapist, like why did you want to do it? Like why a counselor? Why therapy?
That in and of itself was like a whole road. At first I wanted to be like a marriage and family therapist because I just like loved and the romance and all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of took all these different like twists and turns. And so I don't know. I think I'm just very in tune and self-aware, and I'm a feelings kind of person, and I'm a communicator. And when you kind of mix all that stuff up together, like what else besides like talk therapy?
Yeah.
It's like the perfect fit.
Throw some gyros in there.
There you go.
like,
Somebody who does it all.
my God, you'd have the best therapy sessions ever, right? Bring the food truck up, like psh, you got it all.
Exactly.
Sign me up, right? So you moved back home from New York, and you at first you weren't doing the counseling anymore, right? And you weren't doing the family business, and then you just had this light bulb went off. What was the light bulb?
Well, as I said, like growing up, you know, when I was summers at home from college, or, you know, a teenager in high school, like I always partook in the is that a word? Partook in the family
Maybe.
business.
It is now.
There you go. I was always involved in the family business. And so, you know, I met my husband. My husband wanted a summer job. So he started coming on board and helping out at the events during, you know, the summer and the busy season. So he was an extra body. And we came home and COVID shut the world down. And so there weren't a lot of jobs. And so it was something that we both already had our foot in. And, you know, it honestly gave way for like my dad to kind of not start his retirement. Those of you who are listening, he's not retiring. He's still very much there and involved.
And celebrating 30 years.
But, you know, kind of taking, you know, his foot, you know, off the gas pedal in terms of the business, and now letting us take like a different spin on it. I started like, it's just so cool to see, because even though he started absolutely everything, you know, from the ground up, you know, having our own little spin on it, like when social media started becoming a thing, like I created like his Facebook, right? And this typical Greek man, like from this little island, like, what do you need Facebook for? Like, who is going to come look at, and what are you going to put on there? Like, people always want to know where you are, Dad. Like the easiest way to reach them is through one form, like for everybody, you know, like, and it's funny because some of the things that I suggest, like off the bat, he'll say are like silly or stupid, or he doesn't believe in it. I'm like, can you just trust me? And like, mind you, I'm not like a business person. I didn't go to school for marketing or social media or like any of that stuff. Like I'm literally just figuring it out as I go along. And so like I started his Facebook page, then Instagram became a thing. Like we tried a Twitter, but honestly, it's just a lot to keep up with. But so even just like keeping up with that kind of stuff. And so it all just formulated like on its own, which my husband needed a job. The family business was there, and my dad wants to kind of slowly start backing out. And now it's a time to like grow it even bigger than it has been. And so I kind of just, is that where we're at? Yeah,
I think so. Well, yeah, I don't know, but that's where we're at now. So okay, so like, what is the plan? So you and the husband, you guys, you're doing it, and you're still, you know, you're a therapist as well. So what is the plan? Like you guys, like what's the next step with the family business?
Honestly, I don't know. Like I would love to have like a very honestly,
yeah,
if it were
real talk,
if it were up to me and my husband, like I think it'd be so cool to have just like a little small spot that's kind of set up like I don't even know how to explain it to you, like a New York bodega kind of style thing.
Okay, yeah.
Like I don't know if you ever been to, like, a lot of people move here from New York, and so like the Spanish spots where you can go and make like your platters and stuff like that, but like not even like a whole restaurant, because we've been there, done that kind of thing, but like just a little like hole in the wall kind of corner space, like you come in, you come out,
like stationary, not something you can travel with.
Yeah.
So you want like a permanent location.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that, because people are dropping that all the time and are on like my dad all the time for it. So now if they hear this, they have big things to live up to.
They have ammo.
There you go.
They're gonna be on them.
We know what's coming.
They're gonna be rolling up to them and saying, "Yo, like, let's make this happen. We heard it."
But it always has been a family business. And even, you know, we've kind of put out on social media our 30-year celebration. If you happen to follow the business pages, Notice the Gyro King or Notice the Gyro King 2.0, which is now my husband and I, the mobile food truck located in Exeter. You know, you'll see photos of quite literally myself, my husband, my siblings, my dad, throughout the years, which is kind of cool because it's always been a family business. My youngest sister is 13, and she has even, you know, been cooking and flipping pitas on the grill.
I was going to say, are the others involved?
Yeah. So it's there. it's there and it's always been there. And, you know, we've had few people come and enter, but they, you know, it's always the family.
Yeah, that's very cool. So, I mean, you know, now that you guys are, you said you have the truck in Exeter. Where is it at?
It is located right on the Ave, across from the Turkey Hill, kind of by that Ford dealership in Exeter.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So-
I'm familiar. I used to live in Exeter.
Yeah,
years
so
ago,
it's
few years
in a
ago.
little lot over there, and so we're testing that out as our second permanent location. My dad is still in his location in Wilkes-Barre on 309 in the old Kmart parking lot up past like Sam's Club
Yeah.
and over there, and so it's cool.
He's been there for a while.
Yeah,
Like how long?
like in that spot has to be
Yeah.
over like 10 years.
That long?
Yeah, and he's tried different spots. So like quite literally, like people will know him from anywhere. One part I remember him being in that the parking lot across from TGI Fridays, like going up to
Okay,
the
yes,
mall.
yeah.
He was over by the Arena Bar and Grill.
This is taking me back to when I was like a kid now, I feel like.
There you go. Yeah.
Right?
So the over by the Arena Bar and Grill, he's tested out that location before. So he's been like all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. So you guys have, you and your husband, right? Is it the two of you running the one in Exeter?
Yeah, so my husband is the no better way to put it, but like the manual labor. He shows up and he is the one
He's the
physically.
workhorse.
Yeah, he is the physical one in that trailer day in and day out. I guess you could say I'm kind of the brains behind.
You're the
more of
you're the
it.
therapist. You're the therapist holding this whole thing together. Right? You're counseling everybody. It's a family business. Like, you know, I get it. You know, you gotta keep all of everybody happy.
And there you go.
Right. So no, that's really cool, and I think it's great that, you know, you're able to do, you know, two different things that you love. You know, I mean, like they're almost like they're complete opposites, but it's like you're doing food and then you're also doing therapy, which, you know, again, complete opposite things, I feel like, but two things that you absolutely love, and it all involves your family,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So let's see, what else? What did your husband do before this?
When we were in New York, he actually used to work for Google.
Really?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He was cooking at Google, which it's like, oh my God, the places.
Did you say cooking?
Cooking, yeah.
Oh, okay, so he's always been in the
food stuff.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
okay.
yeah,
So this
yeah.
isn't so doing this isn't like totally new to him.
No,
Okay.
not at all. And then before that, he worked at CUNY in Manhattan, also cooking as well. So yeah, he's
Nice.
always been in it.
What's his special dish? Or your favorite dish that he makes?
If I'm being honest, outside of work, he doesn't do the cooking. I wish I could say he did, but
You do the cooking?
I do.
Do you?
I don't like it.
You don't like what?
Cooking.
Oh, you don't like cooking?
No.
But you do it at home.
Yeah.
Just at home.
Yeah, mainly because I have to keep 2 kids alive.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah, kind of important.
kind of important piece.
So you hate it, but like what do you like to make?
If I'm being honest, my husband is Puerto Rican, and if I could, I'd cook Spanish food like every single day.
So do you cook it quite often though?
I try to.
How does he feel about this?
I think he's very neutral.
Yeah?
He's very neutral on the topic.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
No, it's definitely a good.
So you don't have to
sign.
eat Greek food all the time?
No,
Okay.
I don't think we eat. No. If we could, we'd stay away from it, being in that trailer all the time. But we do have all of it at our disposal at all times, being able to,
That's true.
pass down like the family recipes. And my parents live very, very close by. And so being able to have their home cooked meals is pretty nice too.
Yeah. Also, this also kind of reminds me, because we're talking about that area over there. And we got to give our friend Lindsay Timmick a shout out.
Yes, Lindsay, my best friend. She was actually one of the first people that I connected with when I moved back to the area. So we haven't even known each other like that long. So it's really just been in the past couple of years that our friendship has flourished.
Really cool. So but you knew each other before that?
No.
Oh, not at all?
Literally.
Oh,
when
I thought you just got reconnected when you moved back.
No, literally when I moved back and I started tanning.
Okay.
She was one of the very first people that I got to connect with when I came back home.
Wow. Okay. So you just met just from her, and it all makes sense now. I mean, it just also reminds me, like when she was on the show, and I know you watched her episode, but when she was on the show, she like talked so much about how much she loved her clients, and like they all like became family, and it was just this thing, like this connection that she was able to build with a lot of her clients, and why she's been so successful at it. And I mean, like, you're literally sitting right across
prime
from me.
example of it.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about her is her business driven mindset. Like, she is one of the first people that I will go to when I have a question about, like, what do you think about this, or how to do this, or expanding this, or what do you think people will think about this? And so she has definitely been a rock in a lot of forms outside of just my, you know, personal relationship with her.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I felt like you guys knew each other from like when you were kids or something. Then you moved away and kind of lost touch, and then came back. And
it's kind of nice to hear, because that shows how strong this friendship is.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. No, it's like when we connected, and I sent her a message. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, Savina's coming on. She's like, oh my God, she's my best friend. You both literally said the same exact thing about each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And she told me a couple other little things that I can't say. No, I'm kidding. No. No, that's really cool though. So you and her kind of just became, you were a customer of hers, and then you just became friends, and now you guys are like, help each other like with business stuff. I mean, is there anything else? Like, do you have anyone else like that you've been able to help you, or has it just kind of been her and or your family? Like, is there any other like mentors or anything that you've had?
Not really, but I think that's the kind of cool part of, again, having your own business or like building it from the ground up, is like, there's no rules to any of it.
I like no rules.
And it is kind of nice. I mean, you always will get pushback on it. And that's one thing that I'm learning. And, I guess one of my downfalls is kind of being a people pleaser in some kind of ways. And obviously in running your own business, right, you want to cater to,
say yes to everybody.
Yeah, you want to cater to the people and give them what they want, but it's unrealistic.
How do you overcome that?
It is what it is.
Like, personally and professionally, right? Because it's two different things.
But
right?
you know what? Actually, it's interesting you say that, because I find that a lot, that I do that a lot, even in my own professional self, right? Like, and I think that's just something of the times. It's just like, people have this expectation of you being so readily available.
Yeah.
So like in the food business, right? Like, it's funny enough, because people are like, oh, the Exeter spot is closed today. Or like, why aren't you guys there all the time?
Like, you should be open.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm like, I'm sorry, quite literally, it is a mobile food truck. So like, if there is an event, we're
going.
the go.
Yeah, we're going,
right?
there.
We're going.
Follow us, people.
That's kind of the thing. But like, the expectation is that like, you're there all the time for like everybody at any given time. Like, you can,
especially in the food business.
Yeah.
I feel like for you and people in the food business, it's like even worse, like that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think people expect so much more of like restaurateurs, because I don't know if it's because people get hangry or what, but like, I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's just like, people, I think, always just expect more from those types of businesses rather than like your typical like 9 to 5 type business where you might do business. I feel like, right? Like, I feel like people just like attack restaurant people more.
Yeah, I guess more like critical of them, I guess you can say, which is crazy. And honestly, not that like, again, I do a crazy awesome job at the marketing of all this, right? But like, that's why I like emphasize, at least now with like at least the 2.0 truck, or starting to do it a little bit more for the brand, I guess you can say, in general, is the family business. Like, our month of May every single year is just madness, between, again, the size of my family and graduations and birthdays. And one of our, my cousin is getting married next year. And, all these kind of things that we're human too. Like, we have to take the day off to go attend a graduation. But like, people get upset at that, right? Like, and so like, what do you want us to do? It's a family business. If all of our family is going to be there, like, who do you want to open up a trailer to come serve you? You know what I mean? And so, like, putting it out there, like, that's why it is the family business. Like, if we want to take a week off to be on a family vacation, we're going to do it. And so again, I think that's a little bit of a difference between the way my dad has worked so hard to build up himself and his, his customers and the people that like love him and follow him and eat from him once a week or every other day, like whatever the case is, right? He made himself so readily available for people that's the expectation. And here I am with a family of my own. And as much as I love my dad and how hard he worked, right? I remember sometimes where maybe he was late to a swim meet or a tennis match or a dance show or like whatever the case is, right? And so my husband and I going into this, we're like, the business is a business, but it's one part of our lives. And my dad worked really, really hard. And I love and I appreciate him for that, as do my siblings, and like the amazing life that he's created for us. But I know that that's one thing that I want to be a little bit different, like with this 2.0.
Do we call this boundaries?
Yes, I love that word, boundaries.
Yeah.
Every therapist loves that word,
right?
right?
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That is the go-to word for any therapist, is boundaries. And you know, that's been a thing in navigating motherhood, my professional self, my new identity, having a family, running a business, and
balance.
I would say, as much as that's
another word, right?
It is, but I like to use the word harmony, and I'll explain it in this way. And I have this conversation so many times with a lot of my clients. You use the word balance, and the idea is that everything is kind of equal, right? So you are an equal partner, you are an equal parent, you are equal in your workplace, towards your friends, towards your family. Well, mathematically, that math ain't mathin', right? Like that
doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up.
Not possible. I'm not a mathematician, but
social workers don't do math, so I'm with you.
Well, I was a communications major, so PR guy. I didn't do math either.
But it just doesn't add up. And so for me, as much as I would like it to feel balanced, it's more about the harmony and how can all these parts in your life live harmoniously. So if that means that one day I am 90% mom and I am so engaged with my children and I am playing and interacting and the TV doesn't go on all day and we're off the schedules and we're living life, right? Then today I'm the mom hat. But guess what? Tomorrow I need a little bit more from my partner. So the TV goes on, tablet time gets thrown in, you're playing on the floor, like you are what you are as long as you're safe and fed, you know, we're cool with it. But mom and dad get to connect and just hang out on the couch and have a conversation with one another. And now I'm getting time with my partner. The next day, maybe I fill it with all the clients possible and scheduling sessions and, you know, doing my own kind of, what are they called? Classes and, you know, professional self. And I step away from being mom and wife. And now I need the support of others to be able to put a little bit more energy and effort into that cup. And so again, for me, it's more about harmony and how all these moving parts in my life can kind of fit in together like a puzzle piece, more than putting the pressure to kind of live balanced. Because if I'm giving 50% of myself to my husband and I'm giving 50% to my kids, well, then I'm depleted and I have nothing to give to anyone or anyone else. But if I'm giving a little bit more, a little bit less in some area, then maybe eventually it kind of all evens out on the whole.
Yeah. So how do you kind of measure that as you go? Like, I know like not every day is the same, right? Like things happen, right? In business, personal, whatever. But like, how do you kind of manage that as you go? And at what point, like, do you maybe recognize and see a point that like, hey, I need to take a step back and do X?
Honestly, I think I'm trying to learn to kind of live in the moment, which is very, very difficult for me. And it's all about what pulls on me any given day, right? Because everything is so unexpected. Like today, my 8-month-old, about to be 8-month-old, he's in the middle of teething. And so he's a little bit needier than the easygoing self that he normally is. So if that means that I have to cater to him a little bit more than I do my 3-year-old, well, that takes priority today. And because he needs me a little bit more, maybe it means that the dishes don't get done right in the morning when I normally do it, but I have to wait to find another opportune time to do it. And so I'm also about opportunity. That's another one of my keywords.
All right.
It's not always necessarily about adding or taking away things in your life, but seizing the opportunities as they present themselves. And
in the moment.
Yeah, and making it all fit based on that, which is really, really difficult to do.
Yeah, like what was the word you said before about like being present? What was what'd you say it was? Like just being like
mindful.
Was that what it was?
I don't know.
You were because we talked about before we even started too. You were saying you were learning to like throughout your life, high school, then in college and whatever. You've never been able to like live in the moment. Yeah.
I feel like for me personally, I always either live in this moment of nostalgia or I want to say anxiety because I'm always thinking about the future. And I think for me, that's just kind of been my life experience, you know, being the oldest of 4 kids, immigrant parents, the pressure to do high school. You finish high school, you're automatically going to college. You go to college, well, get another degree. You get another degree, well, the real world's hitting you. Get a job. You get a job, what's next? Further your relationship. You get married, what do you do after you get married? You have kids. You have kids, you have a family, now you need to get a house and start building. So like there's this whole thing of like always going, doing that. For once in my life, I'm in this season of trying to kind of work on, because I have not perfected it, I have not fully learned it, but kind of being present and loving where I'm at. Because I found that as I'm getting older, it's hard for me to not always look behind and think like, you know, oh, that was a really great time. Like, I wish I could go back to that or have some of those moments, or look ahead to like, what am I going to do next? So this stillness for me has been really such a big challenge, because I feel like for the first time in my life, like I have all the things, I've done all the things, and I'm in the stillness and I don't know how to handle it.
Like, do you feel stagnant?
Yeah.
And you're like worried about like you have an anxiety of like what's next. Is that what it is?
Yeah, because I've always been somebody.
This is your therapy session now, by the way.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, I'm the therapist, unlicensed. All right, tell me how you feel.
I really think that it's been so difficult because of. And again, I think it happens more in society now in general. Like a lot of people have a hard time just being still. But like in high school, I was looking forward to college. When I was in college, I hated it. I hated being away. I wanted to be home with my family. You know, I was just starting my relationship with my now husband. So like that new phase, right? There was so much to miss, but like in college, I hated it. But now my husband and I look back on like my college days, because we did long distance during that time, you know, and we had some of the best memories. But at the moment, it didn't feel like it, you know. And like when we were in New York, we were thinking about the future and like what a family would look like, right? That did we always seize as much opportunities as New York, like one of the greatest cities in the world, like has to offer? And we talk about it all the time. Like, what would life have been like if we stayed in New York? Like, would we have the same opportunities, or like, would we be living in the same kind of manner? We lived in Queens. Ask me how many times like we made it a thing to actually go into the city. Like, you know, like that was a treat for us still, but like that was like the vision of what we thought life would be like when we lived out there. So being in this stagnant place or this stillness is uncomfortable, and I'm honest enough to say that.
So are you trying to get comfortable with this uncomfortable?
Oh, for sure.
How are you doing that?
I don't know that I have an answer yet.
That's okay.
I don't have the answer
you know,
for that
you know,
yet. With help of my own therapist. There you go.
So yeah, you know, that was one of the questions I was asked. It's like, who is the therapist? Like, and not just your industry, but like even like a barber. Who's the barber's barber? Who's the right? Think
it's
about
so weird to think about.
It is, and I've been meaning to ask a guest this for like the longest time, and I don't know why it took me this long to do this, but like, you know, like, and who's the dentist?
Dentist, yeah.
Right? It's like, what do these people do?
I mean, I truly, and I know this is like so cliche, but I love therapy, and I truly believe in therapy, and like I think anybody and everybody should experience it.
What's your favorite part of it?
It's just so cathartic. It's meant to be a non-judgment zone, and if you find your person, like you found your person. And I have a lot of clients who it's kind of cool to see, and I guess obviously I have professional boundaries, but it's cool to see that there are a lot of people that I work with that are just genuinely so excited to like share stuff with me. Like I have people who like kids reach their milestones and like they share those moments with me, and they'll shoot me a text and send me like a picture of somebody going to prom or like the baby's first steps. And like out of all the people in your life, like you really just thought to like text your therapist this, like that's pretty cool that you can mean so much to somebody.
So would you say that's probably the most rewarding part of the job?
100%. 100%. Like how cool is that?
Yeah.
Like, that somebody really would think of you in all your good and your bad stuff. And like that's another thing that I think people think about, like when it comes to like the stigma of therapy or like mental health, like therapy is not just for the bad stuff. Like therapy is good. Or like, and that's part of what I do with a lot of clients is like, it's shifting the perspective, and it's shifting the conversation and shifting the narrative and shifting your thoughts. So like, it's taking a different view on things.
I love that. The shift.
There you go.
I really like that. Not your average millennial therapist.
Yeah, that actually, so that is my little Instagram page that came out of COVID, and
That's right. That was one of my discoveries. But if you didn't catch on, that was one of my discoveries when I was Googling you.
Yeah, so it's kind of embarrassing now that I think about it, but it started as kind of a little passion project hobby. Going through my own experiences postpartum amidst COVID, navigating motherhood, the isolation piece of all of it. I couldn't find a lot for myself. Again, partially because COVID shut a lot of stuff down, but just in terms of like resources and specialties for moms, like, yeah, you can get any therapist, but there's like something different about having somebody who specializes in perinatal mental health, and like that whole postpartum experience. And so it started as a passion project for me of like connecting with other moms and starting these kind of conversations.
So you built a community.
Kind of, yeah. I during COVID, I started a group called the Happy Mamas Group that was primarily for moms, but we had people who were seasoned moms, expecting moms, newly postpartum moms. We had blended families, and it was really, really cool. And my group lasted throughout COVID, and it was virtual. So
was this like a client thing, like HIPAA, the whole bit? This wasn't just like hey, let's get together and hang out. Like this was an actual legitimate
therapy group.
Thing. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I started this group, and it lasted throughout COVID. We actually just stopped right after like the new year, like as spring was like happening, just because moms and life and school and schedules, it was just getting a little bit too hard to meet. But like we lasted throughout COVID. We lasted virtual. Some of the moms literally just ran into each other like out and about. We never even got to fully have a sit down and like meet in person, which was really cool. But anyways, yeah, my Instagram page just kind of started as like a little passion project where for myself, I put a lot of my personal stuff out there and my experience, but it was really cool because people connected with it. And I think,
real talk.
There you go. # real talk.
Yeah. That's it. That's the trick.
There you go. Being your authentic self and living authentically.
I just saw Lindsay in you, by the way, like when you said that. I don't know if like she said that, but I'm just having like flashbacks right now. It's like I feel like you two are like long lost sisters.
Something like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, yeah, like you said, being our authentic self. Because I think there's a lot of people that whether it's because they're afraid of like expectations of others or whatever it is, they're putting up a facade and not really living the life that they want to have, or they're trying to do something else to please somebody else, back to like the people pleaser thing that we were talking about before, right? It's like, and I think so many more people just need to like just chill out and just do what you want. Start that Instagram page, whatever it is. It doesn't have, it could be anything. It could be art. It could be whatever. Just do that thing, and who cares what people think? And whether it's a passion project, whether it turns into a business or not, it doesn't matter. It's just like, I think so many people are so quick to criticize and judge others, and it's like, yo, like she's doing something cool. Like why criticize it? And if it makes her happy, then let her do it. Or him, like whatever. Like
I was literally just gonna say that you can't make everybody happy, and guess what? You're always gonna find somebody who hates it, but you're also gonna find somebody who loves it and connects with it and vibes with it and appreciates it.
You gotta find your people.
There you go.
I think that's it. You just gotta find your people,
and you're good from there.
Go to therapy. Go get a gyro. I was gonna try to pronounce gyro.
Gyro. There you go.
Okay. There. All right. So go to therapy, get a gyro, and just find your people.
Find your people. Find your harmony.
Yes. Live harmoniously.
There you go.
This is it. All right. So if anyone wants to, a couple things. There's a couple of last questions here. So are you taking on new clients? And if so, like how does somebody start therapy?
Yeah. So I am taking on new clients. Right now, I am meeting clients virtually just because my motherhood hat right now is taking the forefront in this season. And it's a little bit harder for me to be in person. But if anybody is interested, you can email me. My email is savina@thaxtonwellness.com. I work as a part of a practice in the area. We have several offices located from Kingston all the way up to Clark Summit area, which is really cool, Scranton.
I love that you called it a season, by the way. You're like, in this next season, I like that you called it a season. I don't know why.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about the question that you asked, like, how do you get through it? I think that's how I get through it.
In seasons.
Because I tell myself, like, there is a season for everything. And one of the things that I was really, really hard on myself about is, like, not being able to see as many clients as I want and stuff like that. But
and because of the in-person thing, like, maybe limited that?
Yeah, and, like, childcare. But guess what? Like, eventually my kids are going to be in school for 8 hours a day being raised by teachers and other people. So, like, why would I want to use this season to see my clients when I could see clients all those hours when they're not here with me?
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
like, right now, this is their season. It's
Yeah.
not mine.
Their season. I like this. I'm going to start using that word.
I hope so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And all right, so if anybody wants to go see your really good-looking husband, where do they need to go?
So he is located in Exeter, across from the Turkey Hill on the Ave, near the Ford dealership. My husband is located there. If you'd like to have a really interesting conversation with my dad,
Yeah, notice.
the king himself. He is located in Wilkes-barre on 309.
By Kmart.
Yes, the old Kmart. Right now, he's located right next to the McDonald's. So
What are the hours there, by the way? Do you know them offhand? I'm looking it up right now as we're talking.
yes, so my dad is usually like 10 to 7. My husband is 11 to 7.
10 to 7. Damn, I missed it.
Yeah.
Shit,
I should have delivered it. I should have just made
I was gonna
delivery.
try to like hit it on my way home. Damn. It's all right.
It's okay. I'll hand deliver one for you next time.
Okay.
There you
Yeah.
go. But yeah, actually, announcement. Actually, when we come back from our own family vacation, which I'm sure everybody is going to be super excited about, my husband and I made the executive decision that we're closing the trailer down for a second day, just for family. My father in his location will not be doing that. Right now, he's only closed on Sundays, but it's just going to show how much we value family. And
Do you guys are normally open 6 days a week?
yeah.
Wow. Long. It's a lot.
Yeah. And I think my dad got so caught up in that, like, that routine and that hustle and that drive. And then people got used to it that, again, like, if my dad were to take that second day right now, oh my God, the world would be ending.
Oh my gosh.
No gyros.
Yeah, no.
What do we do?
What do we do? What are we gonna do with no gyros? We can't make it through the 6th day of the week, right? What do people do on the 7th day when there's no gyros? What do they do?
I don't know. They continue to blow up the phones and ask where we are and why we're not there. Somebody actually called my husband the other night. I kid you not. We were having our family time, and somebody called him at 10:30 and was like,
At night?
Yeah, you're not open. And my husband looked at the thing and he was like, ma'am, it's 10:30.
Oh my God.
We're like, yeah, but you're not here. Okay, you can find us tomorrow.
She needed to eat. She was hungry.
It's really that serious to some people. You're laughing,
wow.
but like that's how
No, I
strongly
know.
people feel about it.
And I'm laughing because it's that ridiculous. Like, that is so ridiculous.
But like people really think like there's no life outside of
Yeah,
it.
that's ridiculous. Like, first of all, just go eat somewhere else. The truck's going to be back tomorrow, right? Like, I mean, hey, listen, I can appreciate the fact that they, like, were there and, like, that they love the food and that they, want to eat at your place. But it's like, listen, like, cut them a break, right?
It's
I feel like people are
crazy.
just too harsh sometimes in that sense. Like,
But that's what I'm saying. That's why you said boundaries. People are going to love you and hate you regardless. So
Yeah.
you know what? We're doing what we got to do for our family.
yeah, I think people will survive without a euro for one day.
And if you can't, guys, there's another location. So head to Wilkes-barre.
Maybe a third. Maybe we'll park one right outside the studio here.
There
Maybe
you
we can
go.
set that up. We can have a euro day.
Sponsored
knows?
by OnTheStacks.
There we go. Yeah. But yeah, now that I'm like really hungry, I'm gonna have to just like call your husband and just complain that he's not open.
You should do it. Just
Prank
for
him.
shits and gigs.
I might prank him.
See what the reaction
Yeah.
is.
Well, no, this is great. I'm glad we connected. This was a really cool episode. I mean,
This was so much
the
fun.
uniqueness of it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Jack
the
of all
food
trades.
and the mental health and everything. New York, NEPA, like seasons.
There you go.
What season is this?
I don't know that I have a name for it.
Okay.
But everybody...
We just call it the next season.
And just live in your season.
Live in the season harmoniously.
There you go.
That's it. All right. Savina Ortiz on the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
If
If you want to see more On The Stacks content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/OnTheStacks podcast, or search the hashtag OnTheStacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.